Hello, everyone. We're back again today, making a difference with Sandra Uko, and we have our special guest who sometimes did not finish his story, but what an exciting story. And I said he has to come back to do the part two, and today he's here with us. But before I bring him on board, let me just go by introducing what is the show all about, what the show is all about, and also to introduce myself. My name is Sandra Uko. I'm a Maxwell Leadership certified team member, speaker, coach, and trainer. I'm a member of the Toastmasters, an IT expert of over 20 years, sales expert of over 20 years. I'm also a best-selling author. And today we have a guest. And what's the show all about? Making a difference every day. We're all called that to stand out. We're all called that to live beyond just surviving, just beyond being successful, but living a life of significance. We bring great men and women who have been through ups and downs, who have been from zero to hero. We want to hear the story on how they went through life, how did they go through their journey, so that we can glean from them. And once again, we do not want to reinvent the wheel. We can learn from others, ride on the back of others to get to our destination, even much faster than we would, rather than reinventing the wheel. And today we have no other person than Professor Madison Ngafeeson. He'll be here to tell us the second part of his story, and I know that's going to be exciting. Please stay inspired, stay ready to follow through. And if this show, Making a Difference Every Day, has been a blessing to you, please share. It is said that a leader is one who knows it and shares it with others. So we're meant to be our brothers and sisters keepers. So whatever you have that you think has been a blessing to you, helping you to do well in your chosen area of field, please spread the news to others so others can learn and get to where you are, and the world will become a better place to be. So let me get this bow and read it. So, welcome back. It's so exciting to be here. And also, before we bring in our guests, I'd like to just go back to read his bio so that our guests can know who the person that will be speaking today will be. Dr. Ngafeeson is an award-winning business professor, executive trainer, leadership consultant, and author. He is the founder and the president of two leadership development companies, namely the Lead Missions International and the SuperiorLEAD LLC. Maxine is also an international certified speaker, trainer, and coach with the Maxwell Leadership Academy. As a business professor and a former director of the MBA program, Maxine brings together a wealth of experience in teaching business professionals and the reputable Maxwell Leadership curriculum to add value to professionals all around the world and globe. In the past 6 years, Dr. Ngafeeson has held leadership conferences, seminars, and masterminds for leaders in various countries. Through his organization, Dr. Ngafeeson has trained over 10,000 leaders and emerging leaders from over 55 countries. He believes that personal leadership is the key to leading a successful life. Dr. Ngafeeson's latest book, The Day Before Tomorrow, How to Make Today Count, has been read around the world, and it is currently being used in masterminds, courses to prepare students and career professionals for achieving the life of their dream, their life of the kind of life they want to live. Dr. Ngafeeson and his wife, Claudia, are blessed with 3 beautiful children. And today we have no other person than Dr. Ngafeeson himself. So I'm so excited to have you this evening. Hello.
Thank you very much. It's
I'm
good
already
to be
promoting
back
you.
here.
I said you're a professor. You're in our routes. Very soon we'll be celebrating that honor.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. I am glad to be here, and it's nice to be with all of your fans and people who love you and people who watch your podcast.
Thank you. So we'll be continuing from where we stopped. We had an exciting session the last time. I didn't want to stop there, but we have a rule that we are not up. We don't. The recording is less than an hour, so we try to want to work within that, and so that's why we had to break it. And today we have the part two of Ngafeeson's story, the doctor that that never wore a shoe, and as well, God moved him from walking barefooted to becoming someone who is a blessing and living a life of significance and affecting his generation. So we have no other person than Dr. Ngafeeson. So I want to hear your story from where you spoke about the 5 goals and cardinal points that has steered this life to this level of greatness.
So thank you very much. And again, it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
So the last time I ended where I was talking about, an event that truly radically changed my life. And I was saying that when I was approaching 40 years of age, I was really going through a dark moment in my life, in my marriage, in my family. It didn't just take a minute or a day or a week or month. It went for months, almost a year. And it was in that time of just difficulty and trying to want to really understand and asking God for help that something I'd never experienced happened in my life. So as a person of faith, when I encounter difficulties, I like to spend some time in prayer, just kind of asking God, what is it that I need to do, or what is it I'm not getting? And so that was what I was doing. So I remember coming, going to my basement quite a couple of days, because it was really a long thing. I go and just ask God, can you help me with this and all that? And one day as I went, and I kind of heard like a voice asking me, what are you going to do about this? And I said, well, I'm helpless about this situation. That's why I need you, God, to help me. So, and then again, I still heard the voice, so what are you going to do about this? And in the following couple of days, I really began to craft what will be, or what I call today, my legacy statements. And so I said, well, if you permit me to be here for the next 40 years, because I was approaching 40 then, and said, then I want to give my next 40 years, to being this person that I truly want to become. So number one, I wrote down and I said, I wanted to be a husband, and I wanted to be known as a husband who loved his wife like Christ loved the church. Again, as a person of faith, I wanted what I wanted to speak to reflect what I believe in my heart. And then I said, secondly, I wanted to be a father who raised his children in the way they should go. Number 3, I wanted to be a professor who taught more than information systems or data analytics. I wanted to be a professor who taught life to his students. And number 4, I wanted to be a citizen. I come from Cameroon. I wanted to be a citizen of Cameroon who served his motherland, his fatherland. And, last but not least, I wanted to be a leader who helped men and women around the world discover, pursue, and achieve their God-given purpose on earth. And so when I wrote down these 5 statements, I was not that husband yet. Of course, I was going through marital trouble in and of myself. I was not that father just yet. I wasn't that, professor. I wasn't that citizen. I wasn't that leader yet. So what this did for me is that it began to push me to want to grow up to my own aspiration.
Yeah.
It pushed me to want to live up to even my own expectations of myself, because I learned that to leave, LEAVE, to leave a legacy, you need to live, LIVE, the legacy. So I began to decide in my life to intentionally live out what I want to leave behind. And it was at that moment that I began to invest in my personal development. So, first of all, I began to ask myself, so who is a model husband that I can see, that I can follow? Because you see, I grew up, I never had a father over me. My mother was a single parent. My father ran away when my mother was pregnant. I lived with my grandfather and my grandmother, like I mentioned in the first
Yeah.
recording. And it was later on that I transitioned to live with my auntie, and I lived with my auntie and their husband for a long time. But I never really operated under a traditional father and mother, model. Even with my own biological mom, I've stayed with my biological mom for, in my life just for 4 years, and I will be 50 in November. So you see, I had very unconventional upbringing. So the question becomes, how do I know what a husband is and what to be a husband, or what a husband needs to do? I've never seen, my own, maybe my own father function in that kind of capacity. Well, I've watched other people's, but then it's another thing to watch another family. It's another thing when you don't have that. So, which university is teaching us a crash course on what
None.
to become a husband? I don't know, but I never found one. But here's the funny thing: I got married to a woman who was brought up under a father and a mother, and their father and the mother were duly married, and she was a product of their marriage. She was, she had a very balanced upbringing. So here is me from a dysfunctional place, if you will, marrying somebody who comes from a very, very established kind of family, oh, daddy, mommy, and I
We
never
love
knew
is that.
all of that, and I'm not even that kind of a guy. So how do I become that kind of a husband? So I needed somebody to help me out with that. That's when I began
Mentor you.
to get a mentor in, a relational mentor to help me become a better husband. Then the other thing was a challenge was a father. Again, I did not operate under a father. I lived with my grandfather, later on with my auntie and their husband, but I never really operated under a father. In fact, like I told you last time, I called my grandfather father, and then when I was living with my auntie and the husband, I called I called the husband uncle. And then at the particular time, I lived with my own biological uncle this time. And then he said to me, "Don't call me uncle, call me your father," because he wanted me not to feel left out of the fact, to feel like I'm missing something. So he was trying to protect me. But that's my experience with father and fatherhood. And so when you have operated under dysfunction when it comes to fatherhood, how do you really now become a father
To
to
your
my
children.
three beautiful children?
Awesome.
When that has never been modeled to me. I remember, Mr. John Maxwell, who is your mentor and my mentor, says that it's difficult, to grow and to become all that you are if the only example you have is you.
True. You must have someone who is modeling it, who is showing you.
Exactly. That's the law of modeling. You need to have a model. You need to, because people do what they see. You need to see something. Somebody has to present something before you to do that. So I had now to seek someone who could help me with becoming a father. And, and thankfully enough, in my journey, I was able to find that kind of a person who began to truly help me. And so I struggled a little bit with my children on how to bring them up, because I was brought in a very strict way, and all kinds of things. And so I did what I saw when I was growing
Good.
up.
What you see that you tend to model.
Exactly. So I did all of that. At one point it wasn't working. It took a lot of hard work and me learning how to raise my own children. So I wasn't that father, for sure. Um, and career wise, in my work as a professor, I knew that I was not that professor yet. Like I was doing well in terms of my teaching, in terms of my research. But I wanted to be known for more than just that. I wanted to teach my students life. Somebody said that a good leader helps you have a good profession and a career. It says, but a great leader makes you have a good life. So I wanted to be someone who just does is not just helping my students to have a good
I
job or
like I like
a
you to
good
go over what you
education,
just said.
but a good life.
Can you go, hi, can you go back over what you just said? A great
Okay.
leader and a good leader.
All right. So I said a good leader, helps someone becomes a better professional or has a better, person at their job or a better
Yeah.
person at whatever they are doing. But a great leader makes someone have a good life, not just a job, not just whatever they are trying to get, not just a
So
good
beyond their
education.
career, it teaches them life too.
Exactly. Exactly. And though he is there to help them with their career, but their life is served. Because the truth is that a career is just a small, tiny aspect of our
Of life.
lives.
Yes, yes.
And so that is why I learned earlier on that I don't want to be, a one a one trick pony, like they say in the US. No, just be good at one thing and then be be terrible at the rest, because suddenly it catches up on you. So I didn't want, to be a public success in one area and a private disgrace on the other end. And so that made me to want to seek to be that kind of a professor. And then, of course, I also wanted to desire to be the citizen of my country that served this country. And as at that time, of course, I had done some few things back home in my country, Cameroon, but nothing more. So it was actually from this point that I actually birthed two organizations. So I started first and foremost with Lead Missions International, which is the nonprofit organization, the 501c3 organization that my wife and I run till date, which was started about 7 years ago. And when we started that, again, I was just who I was, a regular guy, professor at the university. But, we just were struggling to tell people that we were, called to lead, and to be the one that influences around the world, to be a leader of leaders. It was very difficult to even articulate that because you're like, okay, well, how much have you led, and how much of yourself have you even led to even think that you
You
will
want to
do
lead
that,
others.
to think that you will do that, to dare to think that you can transform your nation, to dare to think that you can transform the world. And then also, of course, the last thing was just that I wanted to be a leader who helped men and women around the world discover, pursue, and achieve their God-given purpose. And so I knew that I needed someone who could mentor me and who could model for me what true leadership that has impact and influence is. So that is where, the John Maxwells of the world came in. That is where, through Mr. John Maxwell had access to, faculty and great other people in the Maxwell leadership team. It was when I got to meet people like Lisa Nichols, which was one of my speaking mentors too, and then just Paul Martinelli, and all of some of these other great people that I got to know. And then I began now to shape what will be like my vision. I began to shape my vision around, these 5 legacy statements that I had written down. So when it comes to being a husband, then I began to redefine my life the way it was. I began to prioritize my relationship with my wife. And I started doing, so I started exhibiting growth, like baby steps growth. For instance, I still remember some of the decisions that I make back then. I said, I don't care where I am, with whom I am with, except that my wife expressly knows that I'm supposed to be in that kind of meeting, or I'm in church or some kind of very serious kind of meeting. If I get a call, a text, I have to respond to that if it's from her, because I have to show her that I value you. You are truly first in my life, of course, after God. So I began to practice things like that. I began to practice things like listening. Sometimes, everybody thinks that they are listening, but
We're not.
most of the times we are listening so we can answer, or we are waiting for our turn in line to speak and not really listening.
True. I had a presentation yesterday, and I was saying to be a good listener, it takes a lot. It takes you being fully present. It takes your body language, eye contact. It takes you be present. Sometimes you have to paraphrase to show that you understand what the person is saying.
Exactly. So I had to, begin to learn, if you will, those very baby steps in my own relationship with my dear wife. But then in doing that, and it took time, it took years. And then my wife said, you know what, when you say that you are committed to me and to family and to all the things that you have been saying, I think I believe you now, because you're a different person that you used to be. And,
Wow, awesome.
and that for me probably was one of the greatest compliments that I
Yeah,
received,
that's a
because
great one.
because I struggle with my own insecurities of
But there's
just
one thing I loved about you, because it has been said in history and it's been said everywhere that you find that hurting people hurts people, and because it was no models to you, if you had every right to live the same life you were taught, the life you saw when you were growing. But beyond yourself, you left your comfort zone, stretching yourself to become a great father that you never saw. So that was, exemplary for me, for others, that you might not have had something whilst growing. Does not mean that you have to repeat the mistakes your parent repeated. You can break yourself off that chain and live a better life. Like just what you said now, this is just a word to encourage those out there saying, I don't have this. It's no excuse that because you never saw a model to you, then you have to do the same thing they did. That was awesome for me. Thank you.
you're right, because that was when I said, well, even if I did not come from a great family, I said, I made a choice that a great family can come out of me.
Yeah.
And that was very profound to me. Because, just a little, just to show you, I let you in a little bit on the family side of things. So I am the first among 6 children to my mother, and I am the first of 5 children to my dad. And so I have, I, and so I have 10 siblings. So now, and then I remember that I said each one of my dad is not married to my mom wasn't married to my dad. So, and so, by the way, I am first of 5 children to my dad that he had with 5 different women. I am
Wow.
6 children, first of 6 children to my mom with 4 different fathers. So you see what kind of a boiling pot is
Very
in me.
dysfunctional home, but you became a functional father.
But it had to take intention,
Yes.
because it was not automatic, because I struggled with those demons inside, struggling to become something you have never seen.
Mm.
something desiring to be somebody you have never observed. It's a very challenging thing, you know. And I remember that when I got married, it was my wife, or then she was not yet my wife. She was just, my fiance. She was the first person in my whole life who ever gave me a birthday gift, because I never knew what birthday gifts are. Like, birthday was for the rich people. Like, come on, birthday, like, was not something out of me. He was the first time in it. He got me a really, really wonderful polo shirt and on my birthday, and she got it to me. And here's the funny thing: it's a great gift, but I'm not used to it. So it took time for me to even open myself up to receive love in that way.
Mm.
So do you see now? When I talk to you about becoming, the husband, becoming that kind of a husband, becoming that father, think about it. It wasn't my thing. I remember that when we got our first child, or girl, and 1 year afterwards, my wife was like, she was just ecstatic that we are going to celebrate the first birthday of our child. I was like, okay, all right. So what is the big deal about that? Yeah,
What are you so proud of me?
what's up with that? Like, what's it? I mean, yeah, she's 1 year, yeah, yeah,
And to
she
you,
is.
it'll be like she's squandering money. To her,
Oh my God! I mean,
she's
I was like,
thankful.
I wasn't feeling it. I wasn't having it. I'm like, what's? I mean, yeah, let's pray about it and thank God for 1 year.
You can see
But
from two different homes. She's come from a
yeah,
home where, so much love has been shown. She's been celebrated. Every little thing, every little thing God does, you learn to be thankful. And you are coming from a home where, nobody ever appreciated you, or even give you a gift. So someone showing that and wanting to do it, like, she's just squandering money. With the money could be used for something else.
exactly. It's kind of feeling like the disciples. Oh my God,
But that
this.
was good that you didn't stop her. I was happy
Yeah.
you didn't stop her.
So I was kind of feeling like, man, this jar, it's kind of like the disciples. This jar of oil could have been, perfume could have been sold and given to them.
Like the disciples
Why
said,
the
a
waste?
jar of oil could have been sold and used to fill the poor, as it was said. But of course, the poor will always remain with you. You can always give them something.
Exactly. So you see, I had to learn. Basically, that's what I was saying. I had to become a student at becoming a husband, at becoming a father. And but then as I began to do that, my life as a person began to significantly change. And the life of my children began to be impacted by what I do, because I'm a very hardworking person. I am not a sit back, watch and see type of person, because even my upbringing needed that I be a person that is, like, if you didn't do something with your life, come on, then you would just end up in the trash, like. So
Oh,
I learned to get up on my feet and do what I need to do. But then, by becoming that husband and that father, I began now to temper my hard work with the love, with the compassion, with the empathy that it needed, you know, um, because because I'm a hardworking person, and everybody who is kind of hardworking generally looks at other people. You easily overlook anybody who is not, not hardworking. Like,
we
they're
look
like,
less
these are
down.
lazy people. What are they
Yeah.
doing? They could have done this thing long time ago. You see, they don't have that sense of patience. So in doing that, I began, to develop these different qualities, and that has truly helped my family. You know, when I got married to my wife, and when we moved to the States, my wife was what had all she had was a high school diploma. Today she has a doctorate degree. She has a great nursing career, and I'm proud of her.
Oh,
You know,
awesome.
when we, when I came here myself, I had just a first degree. But today, again, I have a terminal degree, and I serve where I serve, and I noticed that it had impact on our children, because our children have watched us in their lives as their parents go to school, study, sit there and crack the nut and burn the midnight oil. So guess what? They've come to understand that, life, you have to take life a little seriously. It's not all about play and all of that. And, today, our daughter goes to a, very, very good school, and she had a full tuition scholarship for the next 4 years. Our son has, full right. He's going to college this in a few days for the first time as a freshman. Our college all paid up because, again, did very well, had all kinds of scholarships that takes care of everything. So when I look back, I say it wasn't bad after all. If making that decision, humbling myself and relearning, what I needed to learn and know and be mentored can make my own life better, make my wife's life better, make my children's lives better. And not only they are good at their education, but they are just great human beings. They love God, they serve God, they honor Him. And what else could I have asked as a father, as a husband, And so, but that is the journey to what we are talking about. So these are, years of pouring into and trying, to become. But now,
before you go on, let's just take the commercials.
Thank you.
Are you thinking of how to publish your book on Amazon, or how to get your published book to become an Amazon bestseller book? Dip Insight Books is the perfect in-between solution in transforming your ideas into a book. We can help you with all the complicated parts of publishing, such as process TO transformation. What we do: full manuscript evaluation, receive quality assurance edit, full copy edit and final proofread to remove spelling and grammar mistakes, oversee your cover design, create your interior layout, publish and distribute your book, lock down your marketing strategy. Ghostwriting, where there is no manuscript. Our goal is to help you publish your book promptly. Contact us today at 404-740-9091. Email us at info@dipinsightworld.com. To start the submission process, check us out at www.books.dipinsightworld.com and submit your details. You can visit our Facebook page at Dip Insight World.
So welcome back. In recapping what you just said, that was a great one for me. As a leader, there are things we've learned over time. Sometimes there are things we need to unlearn. Like you said, you'll learn some things. Some things you have to relearn. Some are fresh ideas, you learn them. So we might just think we're okay, fine, but you have to look inwards. Just like Ngafeeson said, he had to unlearn some things and also relearn some things. It's not too late. Like I often will tell people, I said, wherever you start, that's a great point. Start there. And do not despise the days of little beginnings. Those baby steps tomorrow can take you to that great step that you're looking forward to becoming. Thank you.
Yeah, Sandra, like someone said, he said that the best time to start something great in your life is yesterday, but the next best time to start something great is now. So,
yes, that's the word. He said the best time to have ever planted a tree was 20 years ago. That was 20 years ago. He said the next best time to plant that tree is now. So you must move now. Take that step now. Even whilst doing it, and you're doing it wobbling, not doing it well, but take that step now. You get good over time. The compounding effect. What you do today that you didn't do well, tomorrow you improve on it. You find out what you're doing that you're not doing right. Like John Maxwell rightly said, he said, keep failure close to you. Because there's a lot to learn in failure. So when you fall, find out what made you fail. And pick those learning curves and go back again. You'll find out that you get better. And as you keep doing it, you keep improving. And that's where the compounding effect comes in.
Exactly. And so I talked about, but now there was this component of, my country, the citizen that I wanted to become and the leader that I wanted to become. So then I started looking at, who could model that for me. And, when it comes to leadership, that's why John Maxwell just,
fit in.
Totally,
He's a good
completely.
father. He's a man of faith. He's
Exactly.
a hard worker. What can you say about him? What less can you say about him?
And
he's just impacting,
he's impacting the world.
Yes.
So, and so it was because of that I got the boldness, So I started Lead Missions International, which exists actually to teach the principles of values-based leadership, that helps our countries become stronger, our communities more vibrant, and elevate the the total well-being of our
The
community.
common man.
Yes. And so we started that, and we began, because our emphasis is especially in the developing countries. I have a soft spot for developing countries, a soft spot for Africa, a soft spot for my own native land, Cameroon. And so we decided to begin to reach out. And we didn't even know where to start, how to do it. And we started organizing programs. And as we were organizing programs and getting feedback, we were turning the feedback into bettering ourselves, and then launching it again and again and again. Today, we are 7 years old, and we have been able to train leaders in over 55 countries of the world.
Awesome.
To date, we have trained over 15,000 leaders around the world. But that came from a decision that I made about 10 years ago to become that leader that help men and women around the world, discover, pursue, and achieve their God-given purpose for their lives. And it was in doing that also that opened me up to a lot of growth, even in and of myself, because, how do I grow myself so that when I'm sitting there with, the prime minister of a nation, what do I tell him or her? When I sit with a senator, what do I tell them? When I'm sitting there with with a scientist,
All the scientists.
with a business person,
What
what
do
do
you
I
tell
tell them? So I had also now to enter another level of development where I was not just developing myself in leadership, but I had to become this person that I could speak to the needs of people. I could speak to the concerns of a nation. I could speak to that, because I have been in rooms where they ask me, okay, so see what is happening in our nation. What do you suggest that we do? I've been in those kind of places, and it's a very humbling and yet very, very serious responsibility to open
Sure.
out and to respond to that kind of a question. And so that is what really, those are the things that have have pushed me always to grow, because I know that in order to be able to add value to others, I need primarily to add value to myself, if not multiply value back at me, so that I can.
Yes, like you rightly said, John Maxwell, a person of value that sees value in himself will always add value to himself before extending value to others. So you must value yourself, value your time in order to be able to put yourself in the route of personal growth. And it is one thing that no one can take from you. Personal growth. You can have money, lose money, but personal growth, you can't lose it. As long as you're living, it's in you. You keep improving on it.
Mm, you're right. Because from 10 years ago, I started investing now in myself. I started, buying books. I started going to seminars, started going to conferences. I started, in fact, paying for mentorship. Right now, I'm in the
That was
mentorship
why I was
program.
running away on Saturday. I wanted
Yeah,
to join the mentorship team because I'm making up my mind to join mentorship.
yeah, it's that. I today, I'm part of John Maxwell mentorship. I have mentored by other people in different areas. So today, my thing is like mentorship it's has grown bigger for me, because now mentorship is every tiny area that I believe is important to making me a better person. So if I know
And the
that,
moment you become a mentor, you're careful the way you live life. People are
yes,
watching you.
exactly. So you have therefore to first of all grow and become that person So today for me, like, mentorship is something that I don't even think twice about. Like, it's just a default. So I began investing in my, like that, from hundreds of dollars, and then to thousands of dollars, now to tens of thousands of dollars every year now for me. That's where I am right now. But then the value that it generates is nothing compared to what you really put in. And maybe one thing that I even forgot to also say is I kind of skipped on my profession. But when I made that decision, remember I said I wanted to be a professor who taught more than
Life
just
itself.
my information systems or data analytics or business in general, that I am a professor. But to teach life, when I decided to grow even in that way, guess what happened? You see, I moved from an assistant professor, to full professorship. Basically, there are three main professorial ranks. There's an assistant, then there's an associate, and then there's a full professor. So I moved from assistant to full professorship 3 years earlier than my time.
Wow.
Yes. So in fact, when that happened to me, I never even seen a precedent. I've never seen any of the people who went before me who have had that in their careers. I don't know. It's just one of my friends, a few months ago, that I noticed that was done, that they did that for him in their own university. But apart from me and him, I don't know anybody that did 3 years before your time, because the productivity was that which merits
Was
that
astounding.
recognition
People could
and
see
that
it in
promotion.
you. People could
Exactly.
see it.
Yes, because my research was able to show that, my teaching could show that, my leadership could show that, my service to the profession could demonstrate that. So that is what I am today, 3 years before my time. So when you make a decision to grow yourself, it is, a blessing of blessings, I would say. Because in and of itself, you might not know, but it's a gift that keeps on giving. Because when you become a better person, guess what happens? It affects your everyday, every life. Because when I go to the shopping malls, the people are blessed because I am growing. Because the way I respond to them is no longer the same. When I'm serving at an institution, like I serve at my university, guess what is happening? They receive value that otherwise my students receive value that they would not otherwise have received. There are many of my students who walk up to me after class and say, you know what, to be honest with you, I have never seen a professor who is interested in in more than what happens in the classroom. You seem to be interested in us outside of
Everything.
what you are teaching us here. I said, nobody has ever said that to me. Nobody, there's one of my students that I began mentoring, and I was actually mentoring her in a spiritual life, like really teaching her how to study the Bible. And say, well, I said, Professor, you're supposed to be teaching me this, and you have taught me that, and you are teaching me that. And he said, and I called my parents and I told my parents that I met this wonderful professor who's helping me with my life. And, and they said, my parents are so happy that you are doing this. I said, but I'm happy about that, because that is exactly what I wanted to be. So when you grow and add value to yourself and you become valuable, and other people see it and sense it, it changes. It has changed my wife, my relationship with my wife. It has changed my relationship with my children. It has definitely changed my career 3 years before time, becoming what what till now I will still be hoping, maybe in the next 2 years to become. Think about that. It's amazing.
God moved you.
And lastly, again, transforming my own country. You made allusion when we started our discussion today that and you said that you were happy for what happened in Cameroon. I just came back from a suite of meetings for Lead Missions International. So in those 10 days that we were in Cameroon, we had about 5 major events and conferences. We spoke and trained over 5,000 people through our suite of programs. I was meeting with, government ministers. I was meeting with corporate executives and talking about how we can transform a nation, and all of that stemmed from this place of personal growth. And so that is my story, and what I seek to do today is just to be able to share it and tell people, well, you know what, you are one decision away from a transformed life. You are one decision away from something that can change your life forever. In my case, it was 5 areas. In your case, I don't know what it might be. It might be 3. It might be 2. It might be just 1. But there is something, usually, there is a decision that you make in your life that is a decision of decisions. And when you do it, it gives you more than what you bargained for. I learned it from reading the good book. I learned it from reading in the Bible. One day a king rose. He was the first king of ancient Israel. And God asked him, the God of the Hebrews, the God of the Jews asked him, what do you want me to do for you? And the gentleman thought about it and he said, well, you know what? I want you to give me a discerning heart. I want to be able to tell between what is good and what is evil. I want to be able to be a leader who led the people and was able to differentiate between what is good and what is evil. And that actually mesmerized God and said, wow, you are a king. And you didn't even ask for, victory over your enemies. You didn't even ask that I should give you all of the nations surrounding you so you become a great empire. You didn't even ask me to give you silver and gold and make you prosperous so that everybody who looks at you says you must be a great king. But what you were seeking after was wisdom so that you can lead my people. Is that what you are really looking for?
Yeah.
Because that is what you are looking for. Guess what? Here is the deal I make with you. I'm going to give you, number 1, I'm going to give you the wisdom. So there's no problem. The discernment, you're going to have it. You're going to be the wisest king that ever lived. But more than that, I'm going to give you prosperity. I'm going to give you silver and gold. I'm going to make you like no king before you and no king that's after you. And you are going to be rich. You're going to be prosperous. And you are going to have peace like no other king has had. Wow. Wow. So there is an asking that when you do, fulfills all the other askings. So why don't you seek for the principal thing? Why don't you seek for the principal thing in your life? It might be different in your life. In my life, it had to do with me being a husband, me being a father, me being a professor, me being a citizen, me being that leader. But for you, it might be something else. I don't know what it is. But every one of us, there is a key that unlocks several doors. A wise person sits down and asks, what is that key? And then they go totally in for that key, knowing that when they get that, they get everything else. Again, I learned from the good book from one of my greatest leaders, my model of all time, Jesus Christ himself. He said this. He said that the kingdom is like a man who found treasure in a certain portion of land. So when he saw the treasure, he says he covered it up back again. Then he went and sold everything he had and bought that piece of land because he knew that in that piece of land there was treasure. He knew that everything was there. So every one of us, there is that treasure place. There is that thing that if we can get, it unlocks the doors of all the other things we are looking for. Have you found it? Can you unlock it? Jesus himself again said, seek first, he said, the kingdom and all of his righteousness. He said, then all the other things will be added. There's always a key to everything. There's always, a major key in everyone's life. Seek it first. Hit that. Because when you get the first things first, then the others tend to fall in line. Now, let me tell you a little story. How a village boy learned how to button his shirt. So today I'm well buttoned up. That is good. But it took some time. I mean, if you have a child, you know that children, sometimes they would do this, right? They would button, like something like that. You will see. And they say, no, say, oh, please, that's not how you do it. And all of that, you fix it up, right? But when I was growing up, I learned that if you hold your collar this way and get the first button right,
all of us become aligned.
So what is that first that you have to get right? If you can get that, then the rest will fall in place. So thank you. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Awesome. That's a great one. Really exciting. Yeah, like you rightly said, the choice you make you. They either make or mar you. Once you get that one choice right, everything fall in alignment. Everything, it says the jigsaw puzzle, everything just falls in place. And in getting it, that's why you have to take time. Like you did take time. There's a word for me now. When we're in a hurry, we want things to go so fast. We tend not to take time to stop, pause, and reflect. And this is a key one. Like you said, you rightly went to the basement of your house. Take some time to pause and to think. It is in those moments that, God opens up, things begin to unravel. You begin to look inward, and the Spirit of God begins to speak. Like you rightly said, he said, after the 5 cardinal points, your life changed. That was a great way to end this story. It was all, oh, no, I don't know what to say again. Let me just stop my talking. It's so exciting, and I'm sure this must be a video everyone should watch. Yeah, from the boy who never had a shoe, who had dysfunctional home all through, but today he's a loving husband, a great dad, a great professor, a great citizen of Cameroon, and a global leader, changing the lives of men all around the globe. I think you want to follow him.
And I share part of this story in my book called The Day Before Tomorrow, How to Make Today Count. I share parts of this story in my book. And so, anybody can get it from any of the book
Amazon,
platforms.
I'm sure.
On Amazon, you can get it from
How to
Kindle.
Make Today Count.
Yes, The Day Before Tomorrow, How to Make Today Count. So it just shows all of the lessons that I've learned on how to change my story and make today count. Thank you.
Awesome. What a great time having you on this show. I also want to thank our viewers. Thank you for being on this show. And thank you. It's been an exciting, intriguing moment having Dr. Ngafeeson share his life story, how he transformed from a 0 level, from nothing. I would say it's a minus, not even just 0. He was a negative, and today he is more than positive. He's gone beyond what even those who came from a functional home would have achieved. He's gone beyond that. You want to read about him. You want to look out for his book on Amazon. You want to follow him. Please reach out to me. You probably might stumble across his story. One thing I would ask is your details, your social media details, in case people want to reach out to you. And in the absence that you cannot reach out to him, you can always get to me. I would always get Dr. Ngafeeson to meet with you. He doesn't have a choice. He's a leader for the globe, so he's ready to take the task. I think God has built him so well that he's ready to reach out to everyone. I want to thank everyone, and most especially making that time for us and sharing your intriguing story. I am moved, and I think I need to see you behind the scene.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, viewers. Thank you. Bye. And do have a blessed evening.